Well, Joseph Quigley, I just continue in biology and art with the chimpanzees and the gorillas, what we call the primate apes. So this is quite interesting, for I didn't know what you were talking about, and now so I continue in a little way. Just to make a short story before I'm going to address myself to Congo Jr., I'm pushing more forward this idea about the arts and the biology. And the question is, at a certain moment, it's the beginning of the 19th century, animals were entering the world of art. And it all started in Moscow in the zoo. In the 19th century, there was the first apes introduced in Europe. And the students of the art school went to the zoo, tried to get images to draw the apes, and they realized that every time that they were sitting in front of a cage, the apes were demanding to do the same thing, to draw as well. And this continued then to Berlin, and a famous English zoologist, who is called Desmond Morris, then really worked the whole system out. He then was introduced, he was a painter. He was taking gorillas, which the names were Bozo, Congo, to paint with them. And then he made the first show here in London, it's the ICA. And the show was actually a mixed show. There were paintings of children, that were half of it, and the other half of it was the paintings of monkeys. It was the first official artist show of apes, primate apes. These shows then went all around the world, even to Paris. And in Paris, in the gallery, the first paintings were shown. Nobody told anybody that these paintings were made by apes. I forgot something, the paintings of the apes are never figurative, it's always abstract paintings. So, I mean, they were quite in advance it's the beginning of the 19th century, before even the others, the real artists started to become abstract artists. So we can have some images, perhaps. I mean, so this is just to introduce an ape, a primate ape can recognize himself. We can have another one. I continue with Joseph Quigley's sign language. So they can see pictures, they can realize, even if they can't talk, I mean, they can somehow they can communicate by pictures. We have another one. And again. So this is Congo, first Congo painting. And what is very interesting, I forgot something, Mr. Ronald Penrose offered a painting of Congo to Picasso. And Picasso had this painting hanging in his studio all the time. From every time when he changed the studio, he always took this painting with him. So it was something quite important for him. So I don't know in which way it sort of influenced his work, but I mean, it was there. We can continue. So this is Mr. Bozo. And what is quite interesting, that most of these apes, when they paint, it's not just to rush all over and then it goes over the table and here and they're all covered with paint. No, they really know that there is a border, and when the painting is finished, it's finished and they don't go on. And every ape somehow has a style. So we have another one. This is one of Pooh's paintings, finger paintings. We can go on. This is another Pooh drawing. I think they're quite beautiful. I don't have them in color, for I only found this in books, older books from Desmond Morris. So we can go on. Again. This is a science. This is Pooh's. Pooh's was a very famous chimp, a painter. And this was his general sign. He always repeated this sign, which was in a continuous way. This is one of the first Pooh's drawings, when he's tried to write something. We don't know. We can go on. And just to get a little bit out of the chimpanzee stories, these are painters, but then we have as well installation art. And when you have birds in New Guinea, and they install in their nests different kinds of shows. You can say this is more or less a Klein show. It's all in blue, and they take colors and they take the nest, which is beautifully built, how you can see. They really put up a show and then present it to the other birds. So this is one, and they have another one, which is quite interesting. So here they put colors together, and it's really, it's a real installation art. This is Arnulf Rainer, who is a famous Austrian painter and famous for his finger paintings. And so he asked actually to be confronted with a chimp painter and that they might paint together. And the problem was actually that Arnulf Rainer was so nervous that the monkey at the end quit and he couldn't stay with him anymore, for he thought it was just too much. This is just a little story of the artist encountering another artist. Yes, and this is me in front of my studio with my personal monkey, which is called Pooh as well, Pooh Jr. Okay, so now I'm going to address myself. Actually, at a certain moment, we wanted to have a live chimpanzee, but this was impossible, and then I decided it's a very good picture, like a Rodin sculpture, the thinker would be quite as well. Playback of Eden, monologue of an artist with a primate ape. You have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 32 teeth and hands like me. You're not my cousin, but similar, just a little bit different. Are you my caricature or my image as an animal? Am I an animal who has something more than you? Am I a human animal? When Nietzsche talked about humans, he said they are monkeys, but nowadays man is more of a monkey than any other monkey. Both, we are bipedal, but so are the chicken and the penguin. This is a very complex affair. But I do think that in some way you're a little bit more simple-minded than me. And this is not a reproach. Our intelligence differs, but it is a difference of degree and not of nature. For like me, you have sentiments. Like me, you know what suffering is about. In our family, called the mammalians, we are the only ones to make war and to kill in order to get the power. But the human race has the obsession to reign over the whole earth, which causes problems for your species, for your survival, as well as for the rest of the planet. All life is life who wants to live in the middle of other lives. But we, the naked apes, we invented the art of survival. What are we going to do if it is not the war that will kill us, but our progress? Both we are creatures of the cosmos. But it is us who said, I think, therefore I am. You don't talk, a modification of the throat. Or perhaps you prefer to keep silence. And one day, you females gave birth to these Wunderkinder who are called humans. The miracle to have a conscience offers me at the same time a maximum of possibilities to succeed or to crash my existence. More, I have to find a way without too much suffering for my traverse of this universe, and plus, I have to find a sense for my presence and my future. And as always, the eternal questions of the origins of mankind and the origins of art. Why did we invent the arts? Probably to understand ourselves. That is why I became an artist. to catch life, to get hold of the ideas which circle around me, to give them a revival. I live with our culture, our religions, our history. This is a very heavy affair. You are capable to learn the sign language, but you never tell stories. You don't have the expert eye, but the innocent eye, and you make paintings. You didn't go to any art school. You don't know anything about art history, neither the Venice Biennale, nor Frieze Art Fair. You don't really care. You are a naive artist, an outsider. The idea for you of making art is simple pleasure, the act of making. Concerning myself, sometimes I would like as well to be emptied of all this knowledge, of everything that produces obstacles. Not being corrupted by artifice, by any conventions. To advance without any preconceived ideas, to have a pure vision without being hit by intellectual theories, a bit like a blind man who is suddenly able to see. But is it possible for a pictorial eye to be really innocent? For on the contrary of you, I address myself to others, to my world, the one who belongs to humans. For me, a work of art exists through language. It opens a new horizon. I talk about life and death. I try to understand what it means to be a human being. I would love art to help humanity to survive on this planet and to find a sort of peace here. It is urgent to find an agreement with nature, a project of society which avoids us war. But I want to tell you, dear colleague, is that man in general is never really sure of being human, and to realize this sort of coming out is a very hard job. Especially as we do all we can to forget about our animality. The art of survival forbids to cry for a lost paradise. When I look at your face on this photo in front of me, our resemblance makes me lose my balance. For example, an oyster, it is difficult for me to perceive its soul. But what about you? You and your expressionist paintings full of sentiments. And Desmond Morris tells us how you really have a clear idea about it when a painting is finished. Some artists never really know this. For Michelangelo, to be a monkey as an artist was to be able to better copy nature. Darwin wasn't born, and either was Conrad Lorenz. Then there was Joseph Beuys, explaining art to a dead hare. To know that you're an animal with culture blasts the classic dichotomy of nature and culture. Now it would be the dead hare explaining a painting to Joseph Beuys, who is dead as well now. And if I tell you that you and me, we have a collection of priceless art, one of them being a Picasso, you probably give a shit about it. In your world, you who make paintings, a Picasso is worth nothing. The vanity of being an artist, you don't know. But Picasso had a painting made by a primate hanging in his studio. You are for me, beast as I am, a sort of Nebenmensch, a proximate human. And I envy you. I don't really know why, but I envy you. Probably Homo sapiens, the upright ape, is going to explode this earth in a huge fireworks. And then he is going to mobilize a mega technical world to knock his head onto the stars. And Earth, our cradle, will become in the end our museum. Our techniques might turn against us. Only if we fuse with them, there might be a chance. Those who decide to stay human will have a serious handicap. They will constitute a sort of underspecies and will become the chimps of tomorrow. Can art be produced by computers? I do not know. The artists of the future will be dressed with a monkey skin, I suppose. Perhaps stuffed or naturalized, perhaps as a photo souvenir, like you here, to finish as an object of former times. You and me, we are the antiquities of tomorrow. And I want to finish with a little film, just very short, just to show you that even in human society, there's a look which is a little bit similar, like an ape on a human and a human on the ape. It was a tableau vivant I made in France on the Autobahn, number 6, which goes from Paris to Marseille. In this tableau vivant, there was a series about animals and humans, and this rendezvous was in general, somehow there was always a little problem, you will see. So let's always respect all the artists.